What no one has told you about binary options. Anyone can invest in binary options. But should you? In recent years it has been possible to see how there has been a rise of people who without notions of economy dares to try the luck and experiment with binary options. The consequence of this is that many times, because they have no idea of what they actually do, they generate losses and suffer bad experiences that they will share with the circle of friends and family. All this leads to the distortion of the sector of binary options and the work of professionals who really know its operation. They are a scam and are illegal. Many of those who assert that binary options are a scam. This is due to the fact that these options are a simple all or nothing where there is a 50% chance of losing or winning. Added to the thought that they are illegal. Myth it is obviously a lie. Since they are regulated by different organisms, is that many people are reluctant to experiment with them and set them apart without really knowing how their dynamics and functioning. You can lose everything. Binary options are based on all or nothing. But this does not mean that we can lose everything, especially if we invest the hand of a binary options broker that guarantees us the minimum return on investment made. In these cases we will always recover between 10 and 15% of the invested profits of more than 500%. In the medical sector there is much instruction about not trusting the things that are read on the internet to the first ones of change. The same thing happens in the financial sector, and it is usual to read to apparent investors of brokers boasting about reaching thousands of euros in a few minutes. We regret to tell you that it is completely false that this percentage can be obtained, since real profits are stipulated between 60 and 90% of the invested. When we look at the financial market, we quickly realize just how complex it is. Technical words, different types of transactions, different investment strategies, many hours of dedication if we want to get far. And chance, a lot of chance. Something in which the investors to invest in the stock market agree is that it is like a lottery where, sometimes very sure that we are of our investments, these can change from one second to another and make that we lose a lot of money. To reduce losses, we must use winning investment strategies such as the ones we are going to mention below. We do not ensure 100% success, but it is always important to invest knowing what we do and not blindly. Short-term or long-term investment strategies. Investment strategies can be clearly differentiated into two groups. Short-term or long-term. To decide which is the best fit with us, we just have to ask ourselves the following question. Do I want to get benefit right now, or can I still wait for it to get it? Once we have clear, our future strategy of action is when decides how we move, as our investments depend very much on our needs and our profile. This leads us to clearly distinguish whether we are cautious investors or whether we fit into the most aggressive group. Short-term strategies. When we talk about short-term profits, we refer to buying and selling transactions that do not exceed the year. Although risky, these operations ensure the investor a quick profit. A good example of short-term profits is the purchase of securities investment, etc. Short-term investment strategies can be rewarding and very satisfying as long as we play with them properly. This means making a series of previous analyses, market reports and stipulations that allow us to arrive at a clear conclusion about when is the ideal time to make an investment. Note: short-term operations run the risk of requiring significant changes in values in a short period of time. They cannot be raised in the case of companies and securities that have remained stable for months and, at least a priori, have no appearance of getting changed for any particular reason. You can take advantage of specific cases of values that have been fixed for a while and are believed to change because of a temporary event. This may be a turning point that results in a change in the value of the asset in question. Since by the given event it is possible for the value to increase or decrease, but soon to recover its previous position. In this way can be stipulated short-term operations that aim to take advantage of this type of situations. something for which it is essential to be informed of the latest trends in the market, the peculiarities of it and its opportunities. Strategies for investing in the short term can be understood more as opportunistic and predefined activities at a specific time than as financial operations that require keeping fingers crossed to it for the moment of success. Now, let's look at a type of investment that is based on the short term and that can make us earn enough money a short period of time. Strategies for binary options. Binary options are a type of financial transactions that are based on the purchase of an option on a particular asset. Its profitability can be 85% of the invested, in some cases more or nothing at all. Its operation is quite simple. We choose an asset on which we want to operate shares of companies, currencies, raw materials, etc. We decided on the basis of our criterion technical analysis, fundamental or pure intuition if it activated to go up or down after a certain time, 60 seconds, 5 minutes, etc. We invest in the red operation the amount of money we want. When the time we have chosen is exhausted, if we have succeeded with our prediction, we will take 85% of the investment, otherwise we will not take anything. Easy not? If you still have doubts about what is explained, I recommend that you read this article on what are the binary options and this one on the 60-second strategy for binary options that is very profitable and is fashionable among traders. Long-term strategies. On the other hand, in the long-term profits, we have to emphasize buying stocks and keeping them in our possession. In this way we make sure that at certain times, such as when the market is down, we can do with stock for a reasonable price and over time, sell more expensive. This is undoubtedly one of the most normal actions in the world of the stock market and, above all, the star shape of investing for the most conservative investors looking for stability and caution. But this does not mean that long-term investment strategies are not risky. It is necessary to have a good defined strategy and adequate advice to minimize losses in the event of it occurring. When you invest in the long term, you also play with various enemies who act in the shadow and who chase the investor steadily. This is the case of impatience, a sentiment that usually occurs among specialists in the financial sector. It is customary to really feel the actions at the moment in which we have seen that they have come to improve the value in a significant way with respect to the price that we paid at the time. But shouldn't we wait a little longer until they reach the level of performance that we truly know they can reach? These actions can become a big economic difference if we wait long enough to carry out your sale operation. Now let's define those financial investment strategies that are based on the long term. The short-term profitability is lower, but they tend to be safer and the performance over time may be higher than if we invest in the short term. Stock trades. Stock trades are based on the purchase of shares, rights on assets of companies and the subsequent sale when the red stock has reached a higher price than the one bought. It seems easy but nothing farther from reality. Trading stocks than obtaining returns from them requires a great deal of market knowledge and, in addition, being very cold-blooded to keep stock when they are coming down and sell them at the right time when they have already raised their stock. Real maximum. As for the strategies that can be spent to make profitable stock investments, we can highlight two. Technical analysis. Based on analyzing, comparing, and drawing conclusions through stock price graphs. To operate following this method requires a quality training to correctly understand the markets and how to apply the graphics to our operations. For more information, visit this link. Fundamental analysis. The main strategy is to invest in analyzing both the company's financial statement, projection of the future, etc., in which the trust is going to be deposited in the execution of the operations and the news and events that affect the markets, information about the country, its currency, its culture, etc. If you want to know about this type of analysis, click here. When should we sell the shares? A long time ago there was a great sense of paranoia that led many of the investors in stock market to decide to sell their shares at the moment in which they had already provided a small percentage higher than they put on the table to acquire them. but each time is opting for a more relaxed philosophy, which implies not be alarmed by much that the actions have improved a little. It is the ideal long-term strategy, one in which controls can be and should be managed on the shares acquired to have them controlled, but in which the sales should only be valued under certain types of situation. You never know what will happen in the future, and this is something that, in fact, have already been proven by many investors who wait a little longer have managed to double the profit margin. A long-term strategy can also be met with an obstacle from the opposite point of view. We talked about those moments in which an action improves and the temptation to sell it. But what if it is that the values have fallen so much that they have left the value in which it has been invested in a condition hardly improvable? Would it be better to sell the shares and lose money in the process? Or wait to see if the situation gets better? Playing with long-term strategies, there is no do out of the recommendations that are provided to the wait, to the quiet, and to waiting calmly. Because you can fall, but there is always a cap which, yes, is usually raised to achieve a more specific goal. For more information about stock market investments, you can read this article where I talk about it in detail. Investing in Forex. Another type of long-term investment and whose profitability is quite high is the Forex. In this market it is traded only with currencies EUR, USD, etc., and is also open 24 hours a day. Here it is not negotiated with something physical like in stock market, that is bought shares of companies, but is done with the crossing of currencies and through a broker. Some of the advantages of investing in Forex are as follows. It operates 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. High liquidity, thanks in part to the huge volume available in the market. The capital to invest is minimal. Broker commissions are low. It is practically impossible to manipulate the market due to its great magnitude. It is very accessible. You can invest from any corner of the world thanks to the internet. But there are also disadvantages to take into account. It is one of the most competitive and difficult markets in existence. There is a high risk if we operate with high leverage. Knowledge is required to invest successfully. It is a market that is not regulated. To win, you have to think. Although we are clear about what kind of investment we want to make, we must bear in mind that both strategies, besides being valid, are risky because everything depends on the impact of market fluctuations. This implies that the best winning investment strategy we can adopt is simply observe value and try to predict when it is best to sell or buy shares. On the other hand, I want to place special emphasis on the concept of taking advantage of the moment and valuing our possibilities. The best investors have become accustomed to having a level of link with the financial sector that is simply gigantic. You have to keep informed at all times. There is no news to escape its control. Knowing the latest of the ins and outs of the business sector and taking advantage of all this information in a practical way. Being informed of the financial market and the business world in particular allows you to have a better link with what is happening in the world and to take advantage of this type of knowledge when it comes to raising investments. It should always be remembered that the value of the shares of a company depends, to a certain extent, on the trajectory that follows its developments of the presentation of the quarterly financial reports. Investors know this and therefore act before or after this type of data is produced or issued. Knowing to take advantage of the moment and make investments only in the right moments is another virtue that the best investors have. Carry out operations in the ideal moment. The moment is crucial, and what must be taken into account is that there is no definitive one. The world and professional market is so broad that it always hides some new opportunity in which we can get the extra income we were looking for from long ago. We must try not to obsess about a specific value or a company, since you never know what can happen with it or if one day will repeat some interesting operation that we have seen in the past. The investment sector has so many fish in the sea that you can try to throw the hook that it would be a mistake to concentrate too much on just one of them. Assess the possibilities available. We also talked about the importance of valuing the possibilities. Our possibilities are more important than you can imagine. In speaking of this, we refer to our situation and ability to invest in each case. It is not the same to act with a scarce personal financial fund, which we can use to invest in those opportunities that convince us more than to do it with a large capital with which it is possible to risk to a greater extent. Note: the money we have at the present time will depend a lot on the strategy we select as an investment. If we have a scarce budget, we are more likely to be more interested in strategies for short-term investment, with the intention of trying to earn some money quickly with which we will lose the fear of investments. But having strong economic stability and sufficient capital, we should concentrate on long operations that can bring us more benefits. On the other hand, this can also influence us to take advantage of the opportunities, since with limited resources we would have a reduced force to invest in a certain company. It is good that we make a critical assessment of our situation in order to see what kind of strategy we can afford in our case, and from there enjoy the investments is best fit with our situation, or and with the philosophy that we have to make profits without excessive complications. Top 6 of profitable investments in 2015. During this year 2015 we have seen very curious changes in the stock market and its trend. A clear example is how all investors have put their eyes on Europe, especially in Holland and France, although Spain is not far behind. But specifically, there are some investments that are more profitable for this year 2015. We are concentrated in the following sectors: airlines, finance, energy, distribution, construction and telecommunications. Profitable investment sectors for this year. 1. Airlines. With the fall in the price of oil, airlines have found their opportunity to be noticed on the stock exchange and have evolved to the point of being an investment to take very into account. Companies like Ryanair, Air France or ANA have shown a more than favorable evolution, making it inevitable to focus on the growth. They become, therefore, the first recommendation of profitable investments for this year 2015. 2. Finance. This is one of the favorite sectors of investors. It gives the impression that it will rise more favorably than in this year 2015. Banks such as BBVA Liberbank are the favorites of the year, as they are showing a gradual recovery over previous years. Its evolution will have to speak during the year and will attract the attention of many investors. If you're one of those who like short-term investments, this is the perfect sector to make a profit. 3. Energy. One of the biggest surprises that has given us this 2015 is the almost meteoric takeoff of the company Gamesa, which has quadrupled its profits over last year. With these positive results, this sector is more than interesting and a good bet for the coming months. In recent times, the energy sector is one of the most interesting niches in terms of profitable and safe investments. 4. Distribution. Companies like Inditex Agio show that this sector has nothing to envy any of the others we recommend. With a more than considerable increase over last year's stock market crashes, it becomes a group to follow very closely and keep in mind when it comes to planting investments. Some experts define it as one of the sectors with the best chances of obtaining good results. 5. Construction. In spite of the fact that it has taken a number of years and is a risky investment, values such as those achieved by Sacyr during the first quarter of the year have kept us at least in this sector. After all, it seems that the market is starting to move again and, as in the case of Sacyr, is failing to generate losses to start creating profits. It is time to re-enter this sector as it can now only grow, making it one of the most profitable investment niches. 6. Telecommunications. After years of great competition in this sector, Telefónica gives indications of convincing investors who are betting on it after acquiring the Brazilian company GVT. This, together with the arrival of the 4G networks and the fiber optic to Spain, have laid the foundations of a sector that will continue gaining adepts and that still promises to surprise with some new S of great interest for the investors. Is for short-term, profitable investments, the telecommunications sector is one of the most outstanding. More information, click on the link below this video.